Now, in the days when only the elite had access to university in Europe, most business and political leaders were drawn from a small group that shared the same background, outlook, and experience. That was not only unfair, it was also unhelpful, because people who all think alike don't necessarily know best. But if one accepts that drawing Denmark's leaders and skilled workforce from a small pool of aristocrats would be suicidally detrimental, then surely the same is true of trying to run Denmark's companies by drawing solely on the talent of 5 million Danes. Surely some of the 2 billion Chinese and Indians have something valuable to offer too. In fact, it's remarkable how often the exceptional individuals who come up with brilliant new ideas happen to be immigrants. If you look at the list of America's or Britain's Nobel Prize winners, you'll see that a disproportionate number of them were born elsewhere. Why? Because instead of following the conventional wisdom, immigrants often see things differently, and as outsiders, they are more determined to succeed. Their collective diversity is also important, because most innovation nowadays comes from groups of talented people sparking off each other, and foreigners with different ideas, different perspectives, and different experiences add something extra to the mix. Think about it. If there are 10 people sitting around a table trying to come up with a solution to a problem, and they all think alike, then even if they're all geniuses, those 10 heads are no better than one. But if they all think differently, then by bouncing ideas off each other, they can solve problems better and faster. And that's not just an assertion, there's a whole volume of research which shows that. And it's not just in high tech that this is vital, because in all sorts of important sectors, it's problem solving that is at the root of companies' success. Think about it, whether it's developing new medicines, developing new computer games, or developing new environmentally friendly technologies, designing innovative products, buildings, and bridges, or providing original management advice. And as well as contributing directly to a city's or region's prosperity, diversity acts as a magnet for talent. People are drawn to places such as London and New York because they're exciting, cosmopolitan places. It's not just the huge range of ethnic restaurants and cultural experiences on offer. It's the opportunity to lead a richer life by meeting people from different backgrounds. As Professor Richard Florida documents in his book, The Rise of the Creative Class, regional economic growth is powered by creative people who prefer places that are diverse, tolerant, and open to new ideas. Now, for sure, when countries are technologically backward, as Japan was after the Second World War, they can make huge leaps forward simply by copying what more advanced economies are doing. They may then benefit from being culturally uniform, since it makes it easier for everyone to move forward in unison. Likewise, in periods when economic change is slow, more homogeneous countries, such as Denmark, may find it easier to organize themselves more efficiently than more heterogeneous ones. But in advanced economies, in periods of rapid economic change such as now, the value of diversity and the creativity it spurs comes into its own. That's why, as China and India catch up, and as other countries compete to attract the world's brightest brains, Denmark needs to open up to foreigners in order to stay ahead. Now, unfortunately, instead of competing to attract the next wave of foreign talent, Denmark's door remains resolutely shut. Foreigners are seen as a problem, not a solution. People seem to fear that if the door is opened even a little, there will be a stampede to get in. But what if nobody actually turned up? Remember a few years back. Remember a few years back, there was a German politician who said he wanted Kinder statt Inder, children, not Indians. Well, it turned out that Indian IT specialists preferred to go work in California or stay at home in Bangalore than move to Bavaria. So what do you think they make of Denmark? I mean, the rules of Denmark's researcher program for exceptional foreign workers are so obscurely complex that they are a huge deterrent. If you were a foreigner offered a job in Denmark, would you drop everything to go work for a company where you might not feel welcome, where all sorts of strings are attached, and where your salary is punitively taxed at a rate of over 60%? Now compare that with the UK. From later this year, highly skilled foreigners will be able to come to Britain freely to look for and take any job they like. And of course, taxes in Britain are much lower. Australia and Canada actively seek to recruit talented foreigners, while the US is such an attractive place to work that 10.5 million highly skilled foreigners are working there, while only 500,000 American graduates are working abroad. That is a net gain of 10 million talented people. And Denmark? Denmark isn't even in the race. In fact, it's actually suffering a brain drain. There are nearly 40,000 more Danish graduates working abroad than foreign graduates working in Denmark. If you're not worried, you should be. As a report by the Confederation of Danish Industries rightly says, creativity is the cornerstone of the Danish economy. Danish companies are renowned for generating ideas and fostering innovation. By encouraging a spirit of openness and by providing frameworks that enable people to realize their potential, Danish organizations can boast some of the world's most motivated and innovative employees. And my message is simple. It is time to extend that openness to foreigners too. Now, fair enough, you might think, but there's no rush to open up. Things are just fine for now. Why rock the boat? The problem is that you aren't protected from the future by not preparing for it. Steady as she goes isn't always the safest option. History teaches us that those who fail to adapt to change are swept away by it. Think about it. Viking longships dominated the high seas for years and years, but then times changed and they were displaced by newfangled foreign ships with superior technology. Denmark cannot afford to make that mistake again. To stay ahead of the game, it needs to continually up its game, and for that it needs fresh blood and new ideas. Now, Danish people wised up long ago that they needed to be open to the rest of the world in trade and finance in order to thrive. They realized that if they tried to hide from globalization, it would simply pass them by. But when it comes to people, even really talented people, Danes would prefer that the rest of the world stand still. But what will actually happen if Denmark doesn't change is that the rest of the world will pass Denmark by. So if Denmark wants to stay at the top of the food chain, if it wants to create a competent society that thrives in our globalized 21st century world, it has to be brave enough to attract and embrace the bright sparks from overseas who will keep the Danish longship racing ahead of the competition. Thank you.